Hello, I'm Stefan. This is True Stories in a Composer's Life. In this episode, it is time to fess up. Let me tell you how I just about derailed my entire recording career with an attitude problem and how my executive producer inadvertently saved the day. It was an odd feeling to be living back at home with my parents on Vancouver Island after coming back from California with nothing but my brand new graduate degree in electronic music and this desire to be in the music business. But what to do? I was basically sitting at home working on random stuff, hoping for the phone to ring to jumpstart my career into musical stardom, and the rest would be history, right? Well, guess what? The phone rang. 30 minutes later, I had packed up all my recording gear into the back of my car and I was on a ferry over to the mainland to Vancouver with one burning question. Who the hell is this guy? Not the guy who called, that was Jonas Kvarnström, a former fellow music student, but the guy that he told me about. The guy that apparently asked him to record a CD or something. A few moments later, Jonas filled me in. He had met Ralph Harding. Ralph was a publisher. He had a record label called Total Recording. He was a nervous guy. He always had his hands in his pockets, jingling his keys, and when you talked to him, he always seemed to be thinking of something else. Now, that particular day when they met, Jonas was playing piano at The Landing, quite a nice little shopping mall downtown Vancouver, right by the harbor, at the edge of Gastown, and with a very nice grand piano too. So Ralph walked up to him and said something like, "Great playing. Listen, if I were to give you some nature sounds, would you be able to record some of your beautiful improvisations and then mix all that together so we could turn this into a full-length CD?" And Jonas had both the intuition and the guts to say, "Oh yes, of course." Now, Jonas is a fantastic piano player. In fact, to this day, he still releases stuff all the time out of his own studio on a Spotify channel, link in the description. But back then, in the 80s, he had actually not recorded anything yet, but he remembered I was always hanging out around the studios at the School of Music, and in fact, I had recorded his piano degree recital. Let me tell you what went through my mind, because there was something odd about this. The music business has always been incredibly competitive, of course. Yes, more people release stuff now than ever before, but that's because if you get up the energy, you can do this all yourself, right? Back then you had these gatekeepers, publishers, labels, A&R guys. Those people who would get truckloads of demo tapes just dumped on their big fat corporate desks on a daily basis going, nah. I mean, let's face it, these people weren't exactly known for walking around town, picking up artists and asking them to please record something for them. And so I had a bit of a hard time taking this guy for real. What if he wasn't even an A&R guy? Maybe he just wanted to appear interesting, hang out with younger people. Or worse, what if he was an A&R guy trying to rip us off? I made up all these crazy reasons to doubt this, and because of that, I thought there's no way I'm going to give this guy, who I hadn't even met yet, my best ideas. Now, we thought about what to do with this project. We laid out some ideas. I ended up crashing on Jonas's couch that night in the living room, 2 nights in a row actually, and after these 2 days, Ralph showed up, and we presented him not just 1, but 2 fully completed album master tapes. Ralph took one of these tapes, put it in the player, listened to the first minute or so, fast forwarded like half an hour into this tape, listened to another 15, maybe 30 seconds of it, took the tape out, put it in his briefcase and said, "Good job, guys. I think we can sell 100,000 copies of that," and walked out. And I thought, yeah, right. I'm sure we'll sell 100,000 of that in no time. I mean, I was convinced we will never hear back from this guy ever again. How did we come up with all that stuff in a couple of days? Well, that was the easy part, actually. Ralph had left a bunch of nature sounds, songs of the whales, ocean surf, stuff like that. And it was a case of basically letting the whales do most of the work and then calling up a pretty sounding preset on the keyboard and improvise, basically noodle until it got a little long in the tooth, switch to another preset and keep going. I mean, we were working incredibly fast. Just about a couple of weeks later or so, Ralph called and he said, "The CDs are back from duplication. I'm in Vancouver, I can drop off some samples for you, and if you guys are interested, you could work on another album." I mean, I was shocked. In fact, I still didn't quite believe it, but a couple of days later, I had them in my hands, 2 CDs with my name on it, Jonas's name on it, our music on it. And obviously, these weren't one-off CDRs burned on Ralph's computer. No. These were properly glass-mastered, mass-duplicated, shrink-wrap products. And we even had an order for another one. Now, that one turned out to be more of the same kind of thing, more giving lots of space to the nature sound and improvising on new agey sounding presets. Ralph picked that one up too, and yes, he released it. And yes, he asked for another album, and I thought, what am I doing here? I'm in the middle of building some sort of a catalog of works, right? And a pretty mediocre one at that. Maybe it's time to think about this a little more. Can you believe this? It took me 4 albums to finally come up with a track that I wasn't embarrassed about. This was an actual composition and arrangement. It had a melody, bass line, chords, percussion, the basic ingredients. Ralph didn't seem to notice, at least he never said anything, as usual. He turned it around and asked for the next one. In the meantime, the first royalty statement had come on, which absolutely proved me right, because we were selling triple-digit figures. I mean, nothing to write home about, and certainly far from being on track to sell 100,000 copies. But we also figured out a few more things. To begin with, Ralph was obviously not trying to build an artist. Of course, our names were on these CDs, but just in the back, along with the other credits for graphic design and stuff. The stars of these CDs were not Jonas and Stefan. The stars were the nature sounds. And this explains why I hardly ever found any of these CDs in a record store. These were gift items. You'd find them at the airport, the ferry terminals, all the gift shops around town had them. These were items people would pick up as a souvenir from their trip to the West Coast or to Canada. This means the people who actually bought one of these CDs never had a chance to even listen to what was on it until they got home, took off the shrink wrap and put them in their player. And suddenly it dawned on me, we weren't working for Ralph. We wrote music for the people who actually put down their hard-earned cash to buy one of our CDs instead of a bottle of wine or something. And I hated the idea that perhaps some of them were disappointed. We just had to come up with better music. Also, if these people didn't have anything to go by because they couldn't listen to it, why would they pick this CD over that CD or another souvenir altogether, a bumper sticker with a maple leaf on it, I break, 4 whales, whatever. We needed stellar cover art. It just had to look better than anything else. So we met with a photographer in Vancouver, Peter Thomas. Jonas found him actually. The guy did some beautiful nature photography. He had absolutely stunning photos of orcas, the killer whale. That was going to be the theme of our next album. So we licensed one of his images for the cover with our own money, because we knew Ralph would never shell out that kind of money for, a damn photo. And we also spent a good 4 to 5 months working very hard on the music for this album, which ended up becoming Pacific Blue. Pacific Blue went through the roof. It absolutely crushed everybody's expectations. It created enough buzz that we ended up leaving Ralph. Suddenly we got a much better deal with another publisher. Now, because we had spent so much time and effort on this thing, I couldn't wait to get some early feedback from some of these gift shop owners. I ended up having to sign some of these CDs. I heard things like, "This thing is awesome, I can't even open the boxes fast enough. As soon as I open a box of Pacific Blue, they're all gone." So they would go to Ralph, the distributor, and say, "Do you have any more music by these guys?" And Ralph shipped them all those older, lackluster CDs. Pretty soon, that first rather lame album, riding the success of Pacific Blue, had in fact sold 100,000 copies. The point I'm trying to make is this. This opportunity didn't just come knocking on my door. It came crashing right through it, and I was too young and naive Certainly too doubtful, too arrogant even, to embrace it with both arms and go in full steam ahead. Looking back on this now, the thought that I would make a conscious decision to not give this guy my best ideas, I mean, whatever the hell they were at the time, is beyond absurd. So what, if Ralph would have walked off with this stuff? Would that be it? Would I be burned out forever after? Of course not. I was just starting out. There would be plenty more best ideas. I had practically no professional credits to my name, but this was a pretty damn good chance to get going in the field that I always dreamed about. If everything had gone according to the book, Ralph Harding might have shown up that day, and instead of saying, "Great job, we think we can sell 100,000, he might have said, "Maybe you should work on your craft a little more. We can always pick this up again at a later point." And of course that would have been it, right? Well, sorry, recording career opportunity missed. And this begs the question, why didn't he actually say that? What saved me? And I have a theory about this. Ralph was a sound effects guy. He distributed the BBC library for North America, but he also had a whole bunch of his own sounds, including many of these nature recordings. As far as I know, there was no music in his catalog. Now, in the 80s and 90s, and presumably forever after, it was a thing to have new age relaxation music with nature sounds, and Ralph wanted a slice of that pie. I have listened to a ton and then some of Ralph's sound effects, and believe me, a lot of that material is sorely lacking in the quality department. He even told me in one of our meetings, he said, "Stefan, everybody in this business is dreaming about the big hit." Forget it. Forget the big hit. It never happens. What you want to do is put out a lot of stuff and then sell a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. If in total you can sell enough stuff to make a half-decent living, you will have done very well in this business. You know, that makes me wonder if he ever actually listened to all the stuff that we've given him. But at any rate, it was his persistence in coming back for yet another album, and of course his sense of quality, or lack thereof, that in the end earned him 5 music albums, including the hit album Pacific Blue, and a very handsome retirement. Rest in peace, Ralph. And thank you for not giving a damn. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of True Stories. Thank you so much for watching.